This is a kind of a short notice episode of the kind of the Love Your Liver live stream, but we have a special guest today. Her name is Kelsey Kenney. She is a trained biologist and scientific investigator. And I was part of the, if you guys haven't seen it, the Wellness Superheroes show. I was a guest there, and Kelsey was on there, and that's where I first met her. She really, really, really impressed me with stuff that she knew about this medication called Ivermectin, and my suspicions were all confirmed by her about it being kind of, as she talks about in her presentation, kind of a double cross, kind of a trap to lead people into a longer term destruction of their health, whereas the pokey was the short term destruction. And they always get both sides. So anyway, I asked Kelsey if she could present her stuff on my channel, and she graciously agreed to do that. She seemed very happy to do it, and I'm really happy to have her here. So what Kelsey's going to do is Kelsey's going to be going through a presentation, and then I will cover the stuff that I have that's connected to this after that. And then if we have any time left, we do have a time limit here, about 2 hours. So if we have time left, we'll take questions, and then we'll go for it from there. So Joe, can you hook up Kelsey? Great. I'm going to, oh, there she is. Okay, cool. Hi, Kelsey.
Hi.
Hello. Well, I'm going to let you get started on your presentation, and then we'll talk more on the whole thing after you're done. Okay.
Okay, great.
Go for it.
Me on.
Oh, absolutely.
All right. Yeah.
Great to have you.
All right. Thank you. All right. This is a little new for me, so bear with me a sec. Okay.
This is a recording of the presentation that I gave on Friday, September 15th with Dr. Garrett Smith. There's a lot of technical issues and, as the kids say, skill issues. So I'm here to record the presentation as it was meant to be presented, and hopefully get more out of it. Or if you're seeing this for the first time, you'll see all the information I meant to show earlier. All right, so let's get started. So unless you've been living under a rock for 3 years, you probably already know that ivermectin exists. It's said by the, red team, the quote unquote heroes, well, at least in, on this side of things, or the information I was looking at, ivermectin is said to be an antiparasitic, discovered in 1979, I think it was, by Satoshi Omura, won a Nobel Prize in 2015 for curing psoriasis, which is a parasitic disease common in Africa. And supposedly, ivermectin is also the cure for the coof. The salvation of all this lockdowns and COVID nonsense, and this, that, and the other thing, safer than aspirin, wonder drug, which came from Merck, by the way, the wonder drug moniker. And yeah, it was the alternative, right? Like, if they could only just get this ivermectin out, this whole COVID nonsense would be done with. Kind of like how the vaccines felt, right? If it gets just get the pokies out, all this nonsense would be done with. Well, I have some bad news for you. If you haven't heard already, ivermectin is not the cure. It's not the cure for anything. It's not the cure for coof. It's not the cure for cancer. It's just simply toxic poison. And it's the means to get the people that they knew were not going to take the pokies under any circumstances to poison themselves just as much, if not worse, with another toxic pharmaceutical drug. Okay, it's It's very bad for you. It's very bad. And then we have, oh, who's that over there? That's Bill Gates. What's he doing? Looks like he's got a tapeworm on his t-shirt there. What does he have to do with parasites? I thought he was the pokey guy, right? No, he's into all sorts of nefarious activities. He's a part of this parasite panic too. So we'll get into that. Yeah, and just to reiterate, this whole operation, this whole marketing scheme was intended to poison the blue team, the red team, and everyone in between. So this kind of thing isn't new, this reverse psyop, this reverse psychology thing. So I found this one example in Greece, and see if you can kind of start to get the idea of what happened here. In 1921, the people of Greece rose up against the Ottoman Empire that had conquered the ailing Roman Empire and its dependent territories. In 1453, life under the Turkish yoke was hard, and John Kapodistrias, the man chosen by the Greeks in 1827 to lead their newly liberated nation, faced daunting problems of industry and education. But on his first arrival, he had a more pressing issue: food. The new governor saw potatoes as the answer and left piles of them for the Greek farmers to take away and plant in their empty fields. The farmers, however, being under such oppressive rule for a long time, suspecting some trick, would not touch them. So Kapodistrias placed the piles of unwanted potatoes under armed guard. The farmers now suspected that the potatoes were a delicacy reserved for the rich and began to steal them while the guards pretended not to look. Sound familiar? Okay, and so where I think this all started was all this coof nonsense that we got exposed to, right? It was all so weird and almost like unreal and like laughably bad sometimes. It was so bizarre. It was paper thin, the premise. At least on this side of things. On the other side of things, they probably thought, we were crazy. But yeah, I mean, you remember the dancing nurses, and there was, some weird oppressive stuff like police in England dye a blue lagoon black to deter visitors. There were weird tattoos, there were songs, military style beach patrols, booster, weird double speak on the efficacy of the pokies. That was a funny one. Put a dummy on the beach and the police could arrest it. Backtracking back and forth on masks and how dangerous it was, and like the pokies themselves, how effective they were, and the variants, weird personal protective gear, strange directives from the CDC, like avoid singing and shouting, keep music down, limit alcohol. Okay, that's probably the only good advice on there, but so you know how it was. It was so weird, right? It was so easy to farm arguments in your mind, like, what's going on here? What this is not what I want. It's not what I believe in. It is too weird. It's too bizarre. These people are not trustworthy. And then we have these villains like Klaus Schwab and Billy Gates and Dr. Fauci, and all sorts of stories came out about him, about torturing beagles. And if you looked into things further, like supposedly he was working with Wuhan, and they did this whole show with Rand Paul questioning him, which of course never results into anything. And, hurting HIV patients back in the day and ignoring Lyme disease. And now he's at it again with his evil goof nonsense. So yeah, and Bill Gates is there with his pokies too at the ready, and it was all the big show. It was all a big marketing scheme for us. This is what we got. Okay. And I think this is collectively what can be called inoculation theory. So let's read what that is. Inoculation theory is a social psychological communication theory that explains how an attitude or belief can be protected against persuasion or influence in much the same way a body can be protected against disease, for example, through pre-exposure to weakened versions of a stronger future threat. Well, that's debatable, but you get the idea. The theory posits that weak counter-arguments generate resistance within the receiver, enabling them to maintain their beliefs in the face of a future stronger attack. Future exposure to weak counter-arguments, like counter-arguments that have been paired with refutations, that's what we got, right? We got all this nonsense, and then there was all sorts of commentary on it. The receiver will then seek out supporting information to further strengthen their threatened position. The held attitude or belief becomes resistant to a stronger attack. Okay. So they made it seem organic, like you would come to those conclusions about the COVID nonsense organically and have decided on what the alternative should be for yourself when you actually didn't at all. It was guided the whole way. All right. So how did they gaslight us? How did they act ridiculous? And these untrustworthy agencies, like on the villain side, US FDA is telling you, you're not a horse, you're not a cow. Seriously, I'll stop it. And there was just a recent lawsuit from the FLCCC types saying that this was a directive and that they were telling doctors not to prescribe off-label. Like, well, okay, first of all, it's a tweet. And second of all, there's a law on the books saying that doctors can prescribe off-label for just about anything. So we heard from this guy a few times, this jerk, and of course you want to, first instinct is probably to do the opposite of what he says when he says it's bad. So let's listen on what it says about ivermectin.
Poison control centers are reporting that their calls are spiking in places like Mississippi and Oklahoma because some Americans are trying to use an anti-parasite horse drug called ivermectin to treat coronavirus, to prevent contracting coronavirus. What would you tell someone who is considering taking that drug?
Don't do it. There's no evidence whatsoever that that works, and it could potentially have toxicity, as you just mentioned, with people who have gone to poison control centers because they've taken the drug at a ridiculous dose and wind up getting sick. There's no clinical evidence that indicates that this works.
Okay, also on the Coof Hero team, we have the Mary Tally Bowden. All right, so she's got like a couple 100,000 followers on Twitter still. She's likely still prescribing drugs in massive doses to people for Coof or whatever else. And she's allowed to, if she is a real doctor, she's allowed to do that. She's allowed to do it off label for whatever she wants. You can prescribe ivermectin for, I don't know, acid reflux. Providers can prescribe it for, I don't know, itchy butt syndrome. Anything they want, because they give the power to the doctor to decide if something can be safe and effective for a certain condition. Okay. So let's take a look at one of her patients that she told to take 25 ivermectin pills a day. All right. Notice the unsteady gait on that one. Look closely.
I gave her other vitamins, and I gave her high-dose ivermectin. She said, you want me to take 20 of those? I said, yes. And then we laughed about how hard it is to get it out of the package, but she did it. And, you know, we did that for several days in a row. And then this past weekend, she was able to stay home and rest. And here she is today doing great. So. In patients, ask yourself, do you want doctors that respect your right to informed consent and respect your right to try? Or do you want those that follow the dictates of hospitals, insurance companies, and federal agencies? Media companies.
Okay, and then what happened supposedly to all these doctors that were prescribing ivermectin? Like I told you, like they were allowed to do that. You know, at no point were they not allowed to do that. Yes, some pharmacies like spoke up and like, no, we're not going to do that. But, you know, as far as consequences and medical boards and decisions, like even if they were up for review, there wasn't much like to stand on because doctors are allowed to do that. So all this stuff about suspended doctors and up for review or fired or whatever, nothing really came of it. These were like slaps on the wrist, if anything, or maybe a nurse practitioner too, or a physician's assistant got in trouble, but not really, because there was no grounds for these boards to stand on to actually reprimand these people. But they made you think there was, and they made you think that you need to pay a bunch of money because they were so oppressed, and these were so heroic, so brave to stand up against oppression and, centralized medicine saying you can do this and you can do that. And then you had Dr. Pierre Corey, who kind of, kickstarted a lot of this, went before the Senate Committee of Homeland Security, telling everybody that they should prescribe ivermectin for COOF. Okay. It'll all be needless death from here on out, given that there is readily available scientific solution to the pandemic, Corey says. So if you can just support these heroic doctors, all this, crazy COVID nonsense I showed you again would just end. We're so sick of it. So this is what we think is our legitimate opposition to all the nuttiness. And I'm sorry, I got news for you, but if you saw something on TV, if you saw like a thing in Congress, that's a show. All right. Politics is Hollywood for ugly people. All right. It's a show for you to get you to do what they want you to do. It was a big advertisement, was what it was. All right, let's look at some more ivermectin advertisements right here, masking themselves as legitimate journalism. Take a look at Alex Jones here. Look closely. I don't think he actually took it. I really doubt he actually took it. So just take a look at this.
Oh, what's all this? What's going on here? Here, let's just open it up for you. Didn't get this at a Tractor Supply because I've been like Santa Claus taking care of everybody. Hours a day for months. Taking care of people. Overhead shot, please. You know what this is? This is ivermectin for humans. It won a Nobel Prize as an antiviral. And this is inhalable, or these are the tablets, steroids. So let me show you. I was going to do this anyways earlier. See this? See this, Fauci? You see this, Bill Gates? I'm going to kill those prions, you bastard murderers. You're going to hit me with a bioweapon, you monster. You want to suppress me? You want to kill me, you son of a bitch? You goddamn demon? You think I'm easy to kill? Think I'm going to roll over to your crap? No. And Joe Rogan kicked your murdering ass, too. You'd love to bury him, too, you little monster maggot. He's in this National Geographic piece about, I don't usually deal with my enemies right away. I get them later. Yeah, you creep up on them with a poison injection, dressed up in a lab coat, you little Joseph Mengele, Nuremberg Code violating monster. You damn monster. See our little cancer proteins like that. Nobel Prize winning for humans. 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 What, 2005? Nobel Prize winning for humans. Oh, Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan.
Okay, and then you have Joe Rogan here. You probably heard that he took it for his COOF. And here we go. These probably paid actors, right? Doing advertisements. They don't even get the wrong facts straight here on what ivermectin is or does. They misstate quite a few things, but anyway, here it is.
I mean, what about the way they demonize the ivermectin thing?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a drug, not a politician.
Right.
I mean, why that something like that would ever become politicized, especially a drug that I believe when it first came out in 2015, was it? I think it won the Nobel Prize, the
Yes.
guy? Okay. I think it wiped out some disease in Africa.
Yellow fever.
Yellow fever.
It's an antiparasitic, but it stops viral replication in vitro. It does have some sort of an effect, and I'm actually going to have a debate about it with this scientist and another guy who doesn't believe in it. It's a fascinating thing because
it's like getting mad at aspirin.
Right.
It's like if it works for you, and it plainly works for some people and works on a lot of things, I just don't understand that mentality.
Well, you know why they did it, right?
Well, I mean, it certainly was important if you wanted to create a monopoly for the vaccine.
Well, not just a monopoly, but the Emergency Use Authorization Act. In order to utilize the Emergency Use Authorization, they had to have no other remedies. There was no other effective treatment. And so any effective treatment, specifically one that was at the time, COVID, or ivermectin rather, had been around long enough that it was generic. So no one owned the patent on it. So anyone can manufacture it. It was like 7 cents a dose. It's nothing. It costs nothing.
Well, we can't have that.
We can't have that.
No.
And that's also why they tried to discourage and then eventually suppress people from getting monoclonal antibodies. They didn't want any sort of way that you could get over this without taking their medicine.
Okay, so again, they're trying to repeat the talking points. They don't quite get it straight, but you have Bill Maher, who's supposed to be this like rational thinker, and he's not political. He's non-biased. He pulls no punches for anything, and he's just acting like he's the voice of reason, which is when he's actually just saying some very unreasonable and very, very stupid stuff. But you think he's some kind of rationalist or something, right? And then we had this, like, just memes after memes of here's the villain and here's you with your horse head and you're going to be so powerful once you start taking this paste. And here it is, sums it up. Stock up. They don't want you to have it, which is why you should have it. No, you should have something because you've done research and you found that it's good for you and you've tried it and it has good information behind it. Not because they don't want you to do it. All right. Albert Pike famously said, whenever the people need a hero, and boy, did we need a hero, we shall supply him. All right. So they supplied all these heroes for us, these doctors, these politicians, these organizations, and even our friends and family. Some of them became heroes and villains in our eyes. We otherized each other, right? They said that the pokies were shedding, and we were afraid to like hug and talk to our loved ones, and they were afraid to love and hug and talk to us because we might have a virus, and we were afraid of their shedding. It's just that's just plain old divide and conquer. That's old as dirt. So what did they do? Activate strong emotions, our fears. So we're scared of either the coup for parasites or DARPA nanogel parasite DNA modification shedding. It got really weird. Like Stu Peters was like monster of the week with this stuff, showing all sorts of this and that on his show. And our sympathy, our frustration, we were so frustrated. It just kept going on and on, getting more and more ridiculous. And then our sympathy, like we were just, they could only prescribe this drugs, that they could only be rational. All this would end. Simplify information and ideas. So like Alex there was doing, he was repeating it. Nobel Prize winner, Nobel Prize. And safer than aspirin, wonder drug, all that, you know, it just was repeated ad nauseum. Respond to needs and values. So like for the Christian sect, they were telling them that Lord gave us ivermectin. I am the Lord who heals you. There's this, you know, Christian cross used right there with this interview with Dr. Paul Merrick, saying ivermectin is a product of nature and a gift from God. And they were playing on the fact that it was supposedly a soil bacteria, and God made it to heal you. And it was just ready and waiting in all the feed stores for just such a time, right? Attacking opponents. There was plenty of that. They were pretty easy, pretty low-hanging fruit, this lot. Woof. Yeah, and our friends and family too, right? Okay, and just some more counter resistance. There was the reawakening tours with all sorts of doctors prescribing it. America's Frontline Doctors. Tess Lori started this World Ivermectin Day. She works for the WHO, by the way. FLCCC Alliance. And you have David Avocado Wolf making silly videos with horses drinking horse paste. I want to look at that. Pretty goofy. And there's a very specific reason they kept using horses. Like you think, oh, they're owning them for mocking you. No, they're not. They're doing it for a very specific reason that we'll get into. Okay, just some more. That's kind of funny. Remember to wash your hands after touching a dirty animal. That's good. That's good. Okay, and then there was rumors that Trump's vaccine actually had hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin, and azithromycin, doxycycline, and zinc. Oh, wow. Wow, so maybe you can get some of those MAGA people to take it because of this, right? I think it's might be safe because it's got all this stuff. And then they told you that, yeah, and that the emergency use authorization would be nothing if ivermectin worked. And here it is on the news for around Omicron time. So it's starting to be on the news now that they're saying they're starting to quote unquote admit, oh, maybe we were wrong. Mea culpa, maybe we were wrong about its efficacy. In the meantime, you know, these organizations continue to ask for donations. You know, there's no evidence behind it. If you look at the studies for COVID, which they weren't allowed to do, by the way, it was not allowed to test ivermectin on humans in the United States before. So who's using the emergency use authorization there, huh? Because it was so toxic, and even if they did, it would be very bad because this drug is so poisonous. If you search ivermectin in cancer, like they were telling everybody to do, people who have no scientific training or discernment ability as far as like studies go would see a bunch of cell studies saying that ivermectin killed cancer cells. Okay, so if it works, it's like chemotherapy. You can put any toxin on a dish of already stressed out cells, and you know, rock salt, bleach. I don't know. You could put some mercury in there. I don't know. You could put vitamin A. You could say it kills the cancer cells, and you can talk about all sorts of mechanisms and CD38 and JAK kinase and mTOR and P53, telomerase, all sorts of things, and it's just poison. It's just poison. You can put a lot of fancy words on that, but take it from a molecular biologist. So a lot of cell studies, especially cancer cell studies in a petri dish, are absolute garbage. And let's look into some of these heroes helping people with their long coop. Only $22,390. Post-vaccine treatment protocol. Intermittent fasting, ivermectin, HCQ, and Tai Chi, hyperbaric O2 therapy. For only $1,500, the COVID coof hero, Dr. Pierre Corey, will tell you which of these 4 things to do. Insane. And let's take a look at Dr. McCullough. Oh my gosh. So here he is. This is from Open Payments. Getting paid hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars many, many times to promote drugs. And if you look at his protocol, it's like all toxic drugs. It's like super bad. PGP inhibitors and poisons and just terrible. So is he getting paid to promote ivermectin? Maybe. Okay. And so if you can't afford those high prices, maybe you can, there's plenty that popped up where you could get the tablets. It looks like somebody in the Department of Justice put on their big boy pants and started charging some of these telemedicine operations where they were charging anywhere from between $50 and I don't know, like $1,000 to prescribe you ivermectin. And Simone Gold, probably head of the AFLDS. I don't know if she's still head of it. There was a lot of scandal there. So if you want to talk to the amazing and brave Simone Gold, who supposedly went to jail, it's only $5,000, and you have a 60% of shot of her taking your case. So you might lose $50,000 though if she decides not to. $5,000 though if she decides not to. Typically $25,000, or it could be up to $50,000 for 1 to 6 months. Wow. She's got a doctorate of medicine and she's a lawyer. Okay. I don't know how anybody has time for all that and runs AFLDS. Okay. All right. So if you couldn't do all that, if you couldn't afford that, or you didn't know about the telemedicine thing, you can get the pet stuff really easily. This is just a partial list of all the different providers of animal ivermectin. Amazon, that was always in stock. Tractor Supply, they're nationwide. Pet Meds, Chewy, these are big companies. Okay, it wasn't that hard. And where I live, I've got like 6 feed stores. I could go get every kind of ivermectin I want, and within 6 miles. And the only protection against me doing that and consuming that is sometimes just I have to show a picture of my horse. All right, so ridiculous. And again, you can get tablets too. This is Peter McCullough's company. If you click on the website, it says medicines your old doctor won't tell you about. Oh, and they have a pharmacy too that they work with too. And it says that the pharmacy will work with you to get off your pharma drugs. Okay, all right. So like a candy shop owner, having you quit your candy habit. Okay. Here's this. This is a long list. If you click on that, it's a bunch of doctors that will prescribe this for you. Here's a very popular option from India where you don't need a prescription for ivermectin. And here's Stella Emanuel's little operation where she'll really help you stick it to big pharma by prescribing you Flagyl, Zofran, azithromycin, fluconazole, and ivermectin, etc., all that stuff. And or you could go on David Avocado Wolf's Telegram and click on this and buy Sasquatch stickers and lifesavers. So cringe. Oh my gosh. But they're actually just ivermectin tablets. And somehow they're getting away with this. Just by calling it that some goofy name. Okay. All right. So if you're not under a doctor's care, you're going to go the animal route, because I don't know, sometimes they tell you that, oh, you don't want the human tablets that has like titanium dioxide in their poisoning, and propylene glycol and like aluminum or nanoparticles or whatever. Just take the animal stuff. It's a lot cleaner. Okay, so I guess you don't want poison with your poison. And you go with the paste. So don't worry, there's plenty of instructions, especially this Dirt Road Danny character on a very popular Telegram channel will tell you exactly what to do. Use 1.87% ivermectin horse paste. Eyeball a number 2 pencil eraser sized from tube. Okay, so I call these people eraser heads. Take it in lemon water or load it in gel caps. Apparently it's really disgusting. HCQ drink. It's not really HCQ. It's boiled citrus rinds. You probably saw that recipe going around. And then everywhere and anywhere. There's dosing stuff. There's how to use the injectable, how to just stick it straight up your nose to get a neurotoxin as close to your brain as possible. Put it in your eyes. When you look at the research that ivermectin can cause blindness, and people are putting it straight in your eyes. Again, the horse thing. This is intentional that they're using horses, and I'll tell you why. Okay, so in the U.S. we have the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, and they have an office that regulates the advertisement of prescription drugs. Okay, so this Office of Prescription Drug Promotion, what do? They require that prescription drug promotion must not be false or misleading, have a balance between efficacy and risk information, reveal material facts about the product being produced, including consequences that may result from the use of this drug. Did they do any of that? No. And what does they regulate? Everything, TV and radio, written or printed, internet-based promotion, including social media. Does not. Now here's the loophole. Here's the loophole that they use. This is why all the animal signaling that we thought we were owning them with, drugs for animals. Okay, drugs for animals. This was marketed still kind of as a veterinary drug, and it's the most popular veterinary antiparasitic ever, been in use for like 45 years or so. And what were they doing that they weren't supposed to be doing if they marketed it for humans for certain conditions? Omitting or downplaying of risk, overstating the drug's benefits, failing to present a fair balance of risk and benefit information, omitting material facts about the drug, making claims that are not appropriately supported, misrepresenting data from studies, like the cell studies maybe for cancer, making misleading drug comparisons, like between ivermectin and pokies maybe, misbranding an investigational drug. Okay, so that's everything the ivermectin people were doing. And to reiterate, this is primarily medicine for animals, beast medicine. It's, if you weren't a farmer, did you ever hear about this before Coof? I didn't. I never heard of it. Ivermectin sheep drench for cows, pour it on, inject it. You can eat it. Here's one that's marketed for pigs, dogs, cats, rabbits. geese, ducks, turkeys, chickens, pigeons, all sorts of animals, all sorts of livestock. Yeah, this was a vet drug. They used it occasionally for like scabies, and that didn't go so well, by the way. And I think scabies, maybe lice, as an insecticide, meaning you take it and it poisons your blood, and then the little thing that bites you dies. So, yeah, but the studies on that aren't great. Those aren't controlled studies. Those are just case studies. Like, look, we've been giving this for this, and it's not gone so well. Because they weren't allowed. They're not allowed to do clinical trials on ivermectin in the United States until the emergency use authorization. All right, so all this got in my head a little bit. I don't know. See what you think. Try it on for size. The most famous horse paste is apple flavor. And it's like the new forbidden fruit, right? I mean, this just feels like a mockery of the Genesis story a little bit. And we've got our, here's your Eve right there, woof. And here's your snake telling you need to take some of these poison apples. It's really good for us. And she's been convincing you that this is a good idea. So yeah, so I don't know, maybe there's, just like they have poisons for both sides, maybe they have marks for both sides, right? Isn't it go like something with pharmacia, all nations were deceived? Didn't we kind of become like two separate nations? So maybe we're marking ourselves as beasts by taking drugs intended and marketed and historically used for beasts. All right. So why does this matter? I'm not gonna take it. Like, I don't take pharma drugs. Well, I'm so sorry to tell you this, but you have been taking it. And you know, if you're a millennial like me, you've had it all your life. If I can show that on some articles here. So this stuff is everywhere. It gets in the soil, it gets in the plant, it's sprayed on crops, it's used for pest control. It's excreted, most of it's excreted in the feces, and then it gets washed away into the water. So let's take a look. I think this is worth looking into here. Okay, since ivermectin is the first avermectin marketed, most of the data refers to this product. Can now be considered harmful to non-target organisms. That would be us and other things that are not parasites, obviously. Here's the little history. So basically what happens is you pour it on, you inject it, you have the livestock eat it, poops it out, affects the beetles, affects the plants, affects the soil microbiome, it affects the insects and everything. Being an insecticide, by the way. And why is this a problem? Because 98% of it can be excreted non-metabolized in the feces. So think about that. So like 40 to 45 years, monthly or semi-annually treatments to nearly all non-organic livestock, and 98% of it is going right out, right into the soil. So I'm so sorry, but it's in our water, and it's affected the soil at this point for sure. And this is pesticides, autism links there. So it's not just pokies that can cause it. You can click on that if you want. Ivermectin is named in there. And if parasites are all the problem, like all these guys are saying, like David Otto Wolf and Artis and Dr. Group and I don't know, Clacker and all those people, if they are, then why did nearly half of us have a chronic disease. And why did people get COOF? If we've all had all these anti-COOF medications over the years. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense when you think about it like that, does it? Oh, and they've been baiting deer with it too. You can click on that if you want, in effort to control ticks. Oh, they're finally doing something about Lyme disease. Yay. Yeah, no, they're not. So they're using a parasite, which means pesticides used to kill ticks. So again, this is an insecticide. It says so right on the apple piece. It says boticide. Bot is a type of fly. All right, that's a bug. That's an insect. Therefore, it kills insects. It's an insecticide. It's sprayed on crops right there. That's clickable. Here they're finding it in the eggs intact. In dairy cows, they're not allowed to use ivermectin, so they use a patented version. They're allowed to use that for dairy cows, so it can go in the milk, and then the drug company can make a few extra bucks. It's not for your safety, okay? Here's detection in bovine milk, found 76 to 87.2%, and 17.8% contained ivermectin above the level limit of quantification. That means there was so much in it that they couldn't even test that high for it. Again, Merck began marketing as a veterinary antiparasitic in 1981. By 1986, was registered for use in 46 countries, and it was administered massively to cattle, sheep, and other animals. By the late 1980s, it was the best-selling veterinary medicine in the world. So they're telling you, oh, it's only 7 cents. It's off patent. It doesn't make any money. The drug companies hate it because it doesn't make any money. Drug companies don't make things that don't make money. Okay? Yeah. All right. So ivermectin pharmacokinetics and metabolism on tissue and egg residue profiles in laying hens. You can click on that if you want. Cooking. So it's not destroyed by heat either. It's in the meat. It's in the meat. It accumulates there, and especially the liver. So, you know, what does Dr. Smith tell you? Definitely don't want to eat. You don't want to eat the liver. And that's because it's a fatty compound, and that's where that gets stored. And fatty toxins are some of the hardest ones to get rid of. They're the most pervasive. Here's just some more articles about cooking and its effect on various antiparasitic drugs, but basically they're just loaded up. They're just loaded up. Here's different kinds of mectins. They're all the same. They change a little bit with their, you know, little functional groups and this and that, but they're all toxic. Maybe one has a longer half-life or something, or is better absorbed. But we've been getting all this stuff for a very long time. And not only that, to compound things is, I think this stuff is alive. And you know, for example, like if you get penicillin at the feed store, it's like in a little bottle and it's refrigerated. It's actually live. There's still the I forget what it's called, but there's still the fungus that makes penicillin still in there. So it could potentially keep producing this. So this was alluded to in some chats. This person put it on their soil. Of course, the soil bacteria, so it's going to start growing again. People in the Dirt Road questions chat were like trying to save some money and home brewing their own, like kombucha. And here we go. This is somebody saying, I found out that I put the gel in water, the ivermectin grows and eats the corn oil base. So I'm not quite as worried when I take it, because I guess they're worried about like the, I don't know, corn oil or the titanium dioxide. Wouldn't want that. Yeah. So I make dang sure the homemade stuff, parasites dislike, and the good bacteria and ivermectin like mixed in with it. All right, so I was curious about this. So I tested it myself. I just plated an old tablet. Yes, I bought it. I'm just like you. I bought into the hype and I bought some. So yeah, this is a, I played this. This is September 5th, and then here's September 12th. So it appeared to be growing to my eye. And then if you search on PubMed for Streptomyces human microbiome, well, I mean, to preface this, my concern was that if this ivermectin is staying in the gut for 12 days, as I alluded to earlier, and spore bacteria can kind of, when conditions aren't right, they kind of shoot out all their water. They form a protective like seed or shell, and then when conditions are warm and wet, they can start growing again. That's kind of what a soil bacteria needs to do because they're just exposed to the elements, right? And this, I get like 362 results saying that yes, that genus Streptomyces can be found in the human gut. I didn't find anything that Ivermectin specifically can, but they're not going to find a bacteria they're not looking for. And there's so many different types. So if you're not looking for it, you're just not going to find it. But lots of them do. Lots of species in the genus of Streptomyces do colonize the human gut, and Streptomyces are mostly soil spore-forming bacteria. They're little workhorses for the pharma industry. Organic synthesis is hard and expensive, and when you get a germ to do it, you can just grow. They'll make the drugs for you in giant vats, essentially, and they'll just make all the poisons you need. I think I saw some. I haven't found it, but it says that 67% of pharmaceutical drugs and agricultural pesticide products are made from the Streptomyces genus. Okay, so these are pharma's little workhorses. All right, so let's get into dirt road discussions, or as I like to call it, dirt nap discussions. The channel itself is kind of a Q channel, standard control op thing. They have memes and stuff like that, all the propaganda we were talking about. But the dirt road questions chat is where the real dirt is. It is so bad. I'm going to show you some of them, just a few, but I have literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of screenshots of people having horrible, horrible symptoms from being poisoned by this drug. What do? They call it herxing, flu-like symptoms, dizziness, chills, blurry visions, headaches, sweating, fatigue, hot flashes, pain in certain parts of your body. And they call it herxing. They think their parasites are dying and they're encouraged by this, right? They're saying that, oh, it killed all the parasites and then the parasites release all these toxins. Well, how would you know the difference? How would you know? You wouldn't. You wouldn't know if the stuff you took was poison or the stuff the worms oozed out was poisonous. You'd have no idea. There's no way to know. But that doesn't stop them from making these outrageous claims. Like this, they posted this often. This is the sum total of their evidence. There wasn't even that many good reports, really. Like, but supposedly on these 3-hour chats that Danny Lemoy, the head guy, he had weekly 3-hour chats, and people would listen, and supposedly these conditions were mentioned as having improved with Danny's horse pace protocol. Asthma, autism, allergies, alopecia. But you'll see like ivermectin causes all these things. And you'll see that reflected in the chat, and even deaths. I've documented some deaths too. So this is a sum total of their evidence. No science, no mechanisms, no real anecdotes that I can tell. I couldn't listen to these, but if these people are feeling better from stuff, it's a drug-like effect because ivermectin well, it hits a lot of receptors too. It has a lot of effects. It's very promiscuous molecule. It just does everything and poisons just about everything. But one thing it does is it agonizes opioid, as in like, you know, opioids, heroin and fentanyl and all that, and GABA receptors in your brain. So it can alleviate pain and make you less anxious. So you think you're feeling better, and you're going to call Dirt Road Danny and tell them, you know, such and such got cured. All right, that's enough of that. And then they had this. You probably heard or seen this recipe. Hydroxychloroquine. I don't think it actually has anything like that, but it has quercetin, which is an antihistamine, so it may help a little bit with like allergies or something. But this is full of aldehydes, and yeah, and that's what I learned from Dr. Smith. I didn't know why that this was included, but now I know it's just to poison you some more. And quercetin, which is a PGP inhibitor, which we'll go over next, which makes ivermectin even more toxic. Yeah, so this is where most of this stuff was shared. So if it isn't really helping people, what is it doing to people? Well, let's find out straight from the horse's mouth. These are screenshots from the questions chat. Let's read a few of these. Nancy Brady says, yes, I too am having horrific pain where my original injuries were. My pain is now intensified 100-fold. Can't sleep. I've been on for IVM for almost 6 weeks. Here's this one. Equimax made my hair fall out. There's a lot of that too. Just search hair loss on that chat. I've been on the protocol since October. Severe headaches. I'm 52. I suffer from blood clots, anemia, and high white blood cell count. My brother died of an aneurysm. I'm scared. Please help me. And just, it's the blind leading the blind in here. They're just repeating what their horse-pace guru Danny was telling them, and repeating over and over on these long chats. And, you know, one way to program people is to just talk and repeat and just tell people they're just herxing. Stick with it. Here's this. Does this sound like long coof to you? Experiencing short of breath on and off with ivermectin. Occasionally it was helping, drug-like effect. But now my chest feels weird and heavy, like a little anxiety, and I don't know, also very tired, dizzy, and extremely weak. I believe I have POTS too. I've been on and off for long COVID. Before I heard about this group, it's been a month. Here's some more. Danny says it gets worse before it gets better. I have restless leg. At first I saw relief. Drug-like effect. Now the pains Charlie horses are different, moving to different parts of my legs. I can't remember anything, and ivermectin has not helped this, of course, because it's neurotoxic. Oh, here's a death that I documented. So I've documented like 4 or 5 deaths, and again, I'm not doing this full time, and things get deleted. But also, you know, and this is 26,000 people, by the way. But just think about this. If people are in the chat and they're doing this every day and they're interacting, and then suddenly like the ivermectin eventually catches up to them, how poison it is, and they die, well, they're going to stop texting. They're not going to be like, hey guys, I'm dead. It was the ivermectin, right? So there's probably a lot more than this, but I can document what's still on there, where they've given it to a friend or a family member, or they know of somebody and they've documented their death. So here's this one. I would stop using it for a bit. I don't know. I'm not a doctor, but I just had a friend pass away. She was taking ivermectin every day for quite a while, and she was complaining that her eyes were hurting, very thirsty, and felt nauseated. So she was poisoned. We haven't heard what happened to her yet. She was a healthy lady. So this person was healthy. They were just taking it prophylactically, presumably for coof. And now she's dead. Let's see. Here's one that relates to them wanting us infertile. Just experiencing herxing. It seems like a lot of it is mental. I don't feel that great, and like being very social. Libido is very low after starting IV. I've only gone through 3.5 tubes, so it doesn't take a lot to start getting that T down. Okay, and then we'll get into this chat where you can see they call it sometimes a search for these poisoning symptoms. Well, no, these herxing symptoms that are actually poisoning symptoms. You have to get a little creative because these are not medical people, obviously.
All right, so let's type in disco lights on dirt road. Let's see what we get. Okay, 248 messages. Would you mind telling me how to search on here? I clicked on the dirt road questions chat and typed in disco lights and scrolled through some, but didn't see anything on disco lights. Am I doing something wrong? Yes, obviously you're having a problem searching. Is Danny's protocol work for working people? Because if you herx for weeks, you can hardly work. I have disco lights in the morning. Thank you. Yes, I hope it's crossing the blood-brain barrier. I am getting disco lights even more. Memory seems even more terrible. I also have a lot of mucus in my throat, which is yellow, which I think means infection. Yes, Danny explains these neurological herxing symptoms of disco lights, flashing lights, squiggles. Lines tell you the ivermectin has crossed the blood-brain barrier. Ay. And on. Recurring anxiety, depression can be a sign of crossing the blood-brain barrier. Folks, when you see a cartoon and one of the characters gets knocked over the head, what do they see? You see stars, right? And then what do you hear about, like, when people get concussions? They see things, right? They see lights and, flashing and stuff like that. All right, that's not an eye symptom. That's a brain symptom. That's brain damage. Okay? Just because they've done it chemically here instead of physically, like with a knock on the head, it all results in the same thing. This is neurological damage, and this is, we have 248 messages of this. If I just type in disco, yeah, about the same, 284. Seeing stars, maybe get that, 22. Okay, no, they like to call it disco lights here. Isn't that cute?
So just because you did this instead of this, it's still brain damage, okay? This is brain damage. This is like getting a concussion, but you did it chemically, not physically. And can't stress that enough. All right, a few more. My childhood asthma has been a non-issue and has returned. This is one sad update on my husband. Had a reaction with his Xanax with the ivermectin. He needs to be monitored very carefully. His heart rate dropped to 45 last night. That's not good. Please pray that he can be well enough. Severe hallucinations. Oh my gosh. And then this one, here's another documented death. It's with a heavy heart that I'm posting that my 81-year-old dad left this world this morning about 8 a.m. Starting the protocol on February 14th, 2023 just wasn't enough to help him. He had been in horrific pain with peripheral vascular disease and was scheduled to have part of his leg removed next week. Wish I'd known his medical issues so I had more time for it to work. So this person, they just can't fathom that they might have euthanized and caused their elderly parent a painful death. They think they just didn't get the IVM in time. Here's one, strep throat. Her throat was literally bleeding and she had to go on antibiotics. I've been on IVM. I thought it was a UTI. Lots of herxing. almost 6.5 months. It sucks. I'm exhausted, stomach issues, asthma, allergy again. I'm sticking with it though, because I've had a taste of having to nothing. I'm assuming you're saying having nothing. So this is a drug-like effect, like Dr. Smith talks about. It's like it works for a little bit, and then it doesn't. And they're still chasing that dragon of when they felt good briefly, because it was, you know, hitting those narcotic, those spots narcotics would hit in the brain. Here's all over itching. They're just told they're herxing. They need to drink more lemon water or something. Here's one. My ER told me my bowels were inflamed and said I had diverticulitis. I had severe abdominal swelling and it won't go away. I wonder if it's diverticulitis trying to heal, and ivermectin. I plan on doing more of the lemon juice and olive oil. All right, so give yourself a little diarrhea. I guess that'll just fix everything. So what became of Danny Lemoy? Well, they announced that he died, and I don't know if this was a dupe or an agent or something, but I looked on Been Verified and it looks like he had died, so I don't know. It's just the whole thing is weird, and supposedly there was a funeral. And these are his like profile pictures. Like, what is that? Does it seem like somebody you want to take medical advice from? Is that like a Mason handshake or something? I don't know. Yeah. And what's his tagline? What doesn't kill me better run. Okay. Oh, they said the official cause of death, I guess, was that it was his Lyme disease. It wasn't his ivermectin use. His Lyme disease just caught up with him. And his heart was enlarged. It wasn't the ivermectin, though, according to these people. No way. It couldn't have been. Miracle drug. All right. This is the Learning to Fly chat. So within the Dirt Road questions chat, there was a sub chat that was sometimes mentioned that you had to ask to get into. I used my alt to get into it and just document, because I've tried other things. This is all anonymous. I've tried, like, when I can figure things out, I've tried reporting things to Telegram and all that. Nothing. Agencies, there's really nothing, and they don't seem to care. So, oh, here's the worst health advice of your life from the owner of this chat, where they're giving ivermectin to special needs children or their adult special needs children. Never change course unless there is overwhelming concrete evidence a change is needed. This is like complete the opposite of what Dr. Smith says. Stay on course. Do not stay from your path. Fight against all change of course. Well, if you have the wrong information, this is not a good course. You've gone straight in off the tracks. And here they are thinking that it repairs neurons in their special kids' brains. Okay, so it's an insecticide over here and kills insects, but you're protected right on the drug fact sheet. You're protected because you've got this blood-brain barrier, so don't worry. The parasites and the bugs are going to die, but not you, because you've got a blood-brain barrier. But here they're saying it grows brain cells, and they're even encouraging it to get in the blood-brain barrier. It's crazy. It's crazy. All right, so this is just some more. I won't read this. It's highly triggering. If you want to read it, just go ahead. It's just very terrible. You know, it's worse because there's kids here. There's just, you know, vulnerable children and young adults being fed poison because they've led to believe it will help them. It's very sad. Dosing protocols for as low as 5 pounds. That's like a preemie. That's like a newborn. You'll see that everywhere. And what are these based on? Nobody knows where these come from. Nobody knows. Oh, here's one that she took her son to the hospital. He's having seizures with all this ivermectin. She didn't tell the doctors. The doctors kept asking her, what are you taking? What are you giving him? She wouldn't tell. Yeah, and she noticed that he didn't have seizures in the hospital. What do you know? Oh, that sounds a little bit Munchausen's by proxy, huh? All right, so the owner, he came into, I guess she found my chat somehow because I was posting all this, because that's all I can do, right? Nobody's doing anything about this. All I can do is document. And, you know, she saw me posting screenshots of her chat, and she's super angry. And we tried to convince her, harassing parents of autistic children, you're no better than the medical field. Stop trying to push your ways and make people, you know, let people make their own choices. How pathetic, right? I do not, I have zero moral qualms about going into a private chat and exposing these people. Anyways, we tried to warn her, and this is in February, and then June 3rd of this year, it was announced by her Spectrum daughter, adult daughter, that May 17th, that she died to over-the-counter sinus medications that reacted with her chronically low blood pressure. Okay, so first of all, she's talking about saying she took ephedrine. Okay, you can't take ephedrine by accident. Instead of pseudoephedrine, you have to show your driver's license because meth or something. So I don't know how they would make that mistake, and I don't think that was true. I think she died of ivermectin poisoning. I think she was drinking her own Kool-Aid, and I'm so sorry that her children, special needs children, lost the company of their mother, but I am not sorry that this person has been stopped from encouraging other people to poison their vulnerable children. All right, so Rockefeller, origin of parasite panic. What? I thought the Rockefellers were all cut burn drug thing, allopathic. They just kicked out all the homeopaths, and they kicked out all the herbalists and naturopaths, and they had their own schools, right? And just, you know, it was going to be this way, and they put all this money into it and did all the systems. But no, actually, as far back as 1909, the Rockefellers were starting parasite panics in the South. It's nothing new, and the cure was thymol, which comes from, you know, oregano, basil, and thyme. It's alcohol, is a pesticide. The plant doesn't make it for you to heal you. It makes it to stop bugs from eating it. Oh, and Epsom salt. So give them some diarrhea, and they might see some rolled up tissue come out and think, and then, you know, diagnosis confirmed they had parasites. You're right. Yeah, and this is just from Dirt Road Questions Chat. They're always saying, oh, this John D. Rockefeller. He was literally the guy that started this parasite thing. And then this Gates guy, I don't know if it's related to the Bill Gates, but like when I look on Wikipedia, half the sources are gone that are alluded to in the text. So I don't know, probably. I mean, they all were hanging out together, and they're all just, they're tight-knit group of industrialists and all that. That goes through family lines. So maybe. All right, so let's read into this. And this is a puff piece. This is supposed to make them look good. How the fight against hookworm helped build a system. And aren't we so grateful? Yeah, and then you can click on that if you want. That's what I think they're really suffering from. They're suffering from nutrient deficiency, from being really poor after the Civil War, and having to work cotton fields and being barefoot. So of course, okay, cotton are like really prickly. So of course they were getting sores on their feet, and then, you know, bad hygiene. They had outhouses. They told them they couldn't defecate in the bushes. Go do a woodsies. You have to go in the privy. You have to go in the outhouse, which is probably worse than just going outside. And they were shaming these people. They were otherizing them, and it's really sad. And it was a total propaganda thing. And they learned a lot of stuff about how to control people by scaring them against parasites. So let's take a look at that. It's public health, how the fight against hookworm helped build a system we're enjoying so much today. Between 1865 and 1910, an estimated 40% of the population in the U.S. South suffered from hookworm disease, so they said. Two key Northerners did not accept hookworm to be a fact of life. Philanthropists, that's debatable, John D. Rockefeller and his advisor, Frederick T. Gates, started a campaign against hookworm that would in time go well beyond single disease control. Thanks for that. In fact, the results of the work battling hookworm would help launch the U.S. public health system in the South. All right, so did they just really care about those people and were ready to open their wallets? No. Let's see. So in 2020, now, a global pandemic has caused many of us to think about public health for the first time. Few, however, realize that the building blocks for these systems were actually laid out over a century ago in one philanthropy's campaign against hookworm. And it did cause strained relationships among community, government, and philanthropy as people grappled to respond. Well, didn't we experience that too? Very, very strained relationships, putting it lightly. And there was shaming, just like people who didn't take pokies or wear masks. The germ of laziness, they said they're lazy. That's why they're not doing so well. Yeah, it's not because they're super poor after the Civil War and out there with no shoes and picking cotton all day and, without shoes, stepping on the spurs from the cotton, and maybe it looks like blisters and sores. Maybe that's not parasites entering their foot. Geez, what a concept. Oh, and it's super vague too. Kind of like coof and long coof and chronic disease and all that. It's never spectacular like yellow fever or plague or pernicious malaria. It's the greater menace because it works subtly. Slow poisoning. Yeah, soft kill, anybody? Yes. All right. In 1909, John D. Rockefeller established the Rockefeller Sanitary Commission for the eradication of hookworm disease. Why would a northern philanthropist choose to mount a costly public health campaign against an obscure southern plague? Maybe to establish what we're experiencing now. I don't know. Yeah. So here's the cotton fields, pretty harsh conditions. And those cotton fields, that's why you need a cotton gin, because they've got little burrs in there and they don't have shoes sometimes. Okay, it says that hookworm disease begin when microscopic parasites enter the body through the skin, usually between the toes of bare feet. They call it ground itch. Yeah, when no proper privy or outhouse is in place, the feces end up in the soil and the eggs hatch and start all over again. Here they are at the cotton workers at a dispensary here. They got the agent in there with a microscope, and he's going to show them all their dirty worms they have, and they're so gross, and they need your help. All right, so they did build something that might have been bad, might have been good. I don't know, but these like newer outhouses or something, so that they wouldn't poop in the fields. But that might have been actually worse, concentrating all that waste in that case, instead of being like, the worker going out and taking a woodsy and then, it gets the sun on it and stuff like that, instead of just all collecting in there. Yeah. And then they're comparing themselves to Jesus too. Oh gosh, these people are just the worst. The results following treatment are so prompt and emphatic that they have been aptly compared with the miracle of the New Testament. Okay, and this guy started it, this Wycliffe Rose helped do this. Here's their outline. Okay, for all that, blah, blah, blah. You can read that. To demonstrate to the people that hookworm disease is a reality. Well, if it's a reality, shouldn't it be obvious? Like the coof, like they had to like convince us that it was something to be afraid of. Just like they're having to convince people that parasites are the cause of all your problems. I mean, they're a problem, but they're not the problem. Toxicity and deficiency are, which these people were almost certainly suffering from. So they learned all sorts of propaganda technique, power of persuasion, breakthrough. They first tried to scare people. You can't do that. You got to make it fun, right? Like Dirt Road Danny with the horse stuff and the funny memes. So they had fairs, you know, mostly children would show up and they'd show them these parasites that they supposedly had. And there would be like, you know, stuff for kids to do and make it fun. And not only that, install a team of trained doctors as envoys to each state. These men were native Southerners. Okay, so they pick people like you. So you know, you don't think this is some Yankee Doodle coming in to your town telling you what to do. This is your brethren. This is, you know, your local doctor, and he's going to help you, right? The demonstrations were festive with lanterns, lights, giant posters, and streamers. Were attended less by adults than by children who enjoyed this slideshows and the chance to look at microscopes. Well, of course. And they even made some propaganda children's books. Oh my gosh, this is so bad. Okay, look at the ascites on this. Liver damage, hello. Okay, he's got sores. That's dermatitis, probably pellagra from not getting enough protein. You can read about that in Politics and Pellagra, where they were having to like eat their dogs sometimes. And so yeah, they were suffering from nutrient deficiency and obviously liver damage. The story of a boy who did not grow up to be a tall, strong man. Come on. Let me see that sweet, sweet propaganda. You have to click on that. Man, I'm sure you know it's bad, but I want you to know how bad. Oh, okay. All right. Well, you can take a look. Anyways, it's just a bunch of shaming. It's just a bunch of propaganda and fear mongering about creepy crawlies and you're gross and you're eating your own waste and don't you want to be strong and healthy like your peers. Yeah, it was a peer pressure. And, you know, they took this model in 1916. They extended the U.S. work on hookworm disease to 15 foreign countries, carried on in 8 states in the American South. And just here's some more propaganda that they use. Some scare tactics that you'll see on some of these channels. This is like claymation. This isn't real, like, but if you've never even like maybe seen a moving picture, like that looks real to you and you're gonna get scared. And you're gonna get scared that you're gonna look like this fella, right? Oh, okay, the signal, look at their blood. This is propaganda, and then you're gonna go, you know, these poor people that are suffering from malnutrition, and doctor's gonna say, oh, I found some worms, and what's you given there? Oh, Epsom salts, magnesium sulfate that slows down your detox and gives you diarrhea. And then chenopodium, that's toxic stuff. That's explosive, actually. Yeah, so it's gonna like strip your gut lining, and you're gonna dump a bunch of bile and get diarrhea, and you might feel a little better, and some of that tissue is gonna look like parasites to you. So your doctor has been affirmed. He was right all along, and you're gonna tell all your friends that they cured you right up, just like Jesus. Ay, ay, ay. All right, that's enough of that. I'm feeling nauseous. What's next? Okay, so remember when I said like they had the natives come and talk to you? All right, yeah, that's the explosive compound that's in these capsules here, and thymol. So who are these new, native friendly Southerners that are going to teach us all about how parasites? Well, for one, there's Dr. Group, or Dr. Poop, I like to call him, but I think that's even too good of a name for him. He's just all about the parasites. To him, it's like everything. And here's what he thinks you need to do for all your ailments. Oh, it's so bad. Plant-based zinc, I don't know what that is. Probably not zinc picolinate, which is the better one. Vitamin D, rat poison, 5,000 twice a day, 10,000 IU a day. That's a lot. CDS, that's for, in my opinion, emergencies or very specific conditions for a limited amount of time. Methylene blue, that's a dye I used to use in the lab a lot to distinguish dead cells from living cells. And it accumulates in the brain, and they do autopsies of these people, and they've got blue brains after overdosing on the stuff. Distilled water or whatever, fenbendazole, that's another azole antiparasitic that you also saw in the news that cured Joe Schmo Tippin's cancer or something. I don't know. Quercetin. Oh, phytosome means they drop it in some lecithin, so it absorbs better. Right? Okay, like liposome, phytosome, so it's like plant material covered with like liposomes, so it can get past where it's not supposed to get past. Probiotic, I don't know, that's probably bad. There's oh, and of course ivermectin. So saying to use for children, just because you do woo-woo on your poison doesn't make it less poison. All right, so I promised you it was connection. Here we go. Watch this video and tell me, does it break your cognitive dissonance?
I'm in the world's foremost parasite museum here in Tokyo.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. It's kind of cool, it's kind of gross. In history, there was a lot of parasitic infection in all countries. Fortunately, a lot of that's been eliminated, but it's great for people to come and learn about the burden that's there and the great work that's going on. More than 1 billion people in developing countries suffer from parasitic diseases, including guinea worm, sleeping sickness, elephantiasis, river blindness. These are the so-called neglected tropical diseases. There's a few, like guinea worm, that's down to very small numbers. We have others that we have very good tools. The drug companies actually donate the drugs, and people take these drugs that will clear them, and so the burden is going down slowly but surely. My favorite part of my visit was seeing the world's largest tapeworm. It's 29 feet long. You don't want to have it. It's a real reminder of how parasites start small and grow big, and they're a huge drain on people's health. Because the worm is essentially taking the nutrition away. That's an extreme case, but a lot of kids, because of the worms, their ability to succeed in school's not very good. You can't thrive when you have these diseases. That's why our foundation continues to work with partners to eliminate parasitic diseases and the burdens they create. Looks good. It's better on the outside.
Same.
Yeah.
Okay. So now you know he's heavily involved in this. and he's been doing ivermectin donation along with his pokies, along with his vitamin A donation. Yeah, and his golden rice too. I almost forgot about that one. But now he's doing malaria shots and tuberculosis shots. What? Malaria, and guess what's in it, guys? I guess he did an about face and a mea culpa, and the malaria shot is ivermectin. Wouldn't you know it? And they're calling it an insecticide, which is a fancy word for drink some poison and it'll kill the bugs that bite you. So they're turning people into like live baits. Like, forget about nets or something. That's silly, right? That's silly to just prevent the mosquitoes from biting at all. No, we're going to control a parasite by killing the mosquitoes, and we'll put you out as poison bait so they can drink from you, and somehow that's going to stop your malaria. Okay. And you might have heard that Bill Gates did an ivermectin trial for COVID, and he did. And now he's going to do one for treatment and prophylaxis of COVID-19. And he's working on a long-term injectable version of ivermectin. Do you think he just changed his mind? No, he's been doing this for years. Here's some more links you can follow about this and all his involvement in ivermectin and other antiparasitics. And yeah, and then there's also this too, which is kind of weird. You can click on this yourself, but apparently that Nobel Prize in 2015, that was the first time, as Dr. Smith let me know, I didn't know this before, first time in 60 years that an anti-infective had gotten the Nobel Prize. So it was weird that all of a sudden two of them, ivermectin and artesunate, which is another antiparasitic derived from wormwood, another poison, got the Nobel Prize. So that was weird. And apparently these two doofs went to this guy's house, who's the chair, and then not too long later, they stayed for a month, and then not too long later, those were awarded the Nobel Prize. Coincidence? I think not. Okay, and here's about the Mectin donation program, how they've been giving it to people in Africa with just this one program. This isn't everything. This isn't all the antiparasitics they've given, but just this one program from Merck, over 4 billion doses. That's a lot. That's a lot. And semi-annually too. So annually to semi-annually, that is a lot of people that they poisoned with this. Yeah, here's the malaria one. It's studied by Bill and Melinda Gates. Okay, and you're hearing a lot more about malaria. I can go into that later because I think they're really laying the groundwork, especially if you listen to like Stu Peters and Karen Kingston and these reports of like malaria and his GMO mosquitoes and stuff like that. I think they're going to do some kind of like mosquito-borne thing. And then, the pokey people are going to blame climate change, and the non-pokey people are going to blame Bill Gates and his GMO mosquitoes. And yeah, it's going to be a huge mess. So just watch out for that. Try to tell your friends and family about this, that don't fall for it. It's probably going to be a mosquito thing. I thought they were going to do it this summer, but I think they're still laying the groundwork. Yeah, so I guess they're going to do another coof thing. They're going to try that again, going to bring out that corpse. And then, this summer they're going to do some kind of mosquito-borne thing like dengue or malaria or Ebola or something. But I think malaria is probably the winner. So don't fall for it. Yeah. Don't do the opposite of don't do what the the authorities tell you to do, and don't do the opposite either, right? I think we've learned that much. Okay. All right. Thank you so much for listening. And that's about all I have to say. Next time we'll talk more about this because it goes even deeper than that.
Oh gosh. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you very much, Kelsey, for all of that. Yeah, if any of you in the chat have specific questions for Kelsey, feel free to post them. Otherwise, I'm just going to run through some quick stuff that Kelsey was mentioning that I had. And Kelsey, I know you have to leave at a certain time, so whenever you have to go, feel free to go.
Okay.
But thanks a lot for all of that information. So let me share my screen, and I'll get into doing my thing as I normally as I do it. Okay, so first, this is what Kelsey was mentioning. I just wanted to hit on this. Yeah, 2015, ivermectin got the only treatment of infectious disease Nobel Prize since 60 years prior. And I just thought it was very interesting how they break a 6-decade pattern of not awarding infectious disease medicines with this prize until now. And then the worst thing is all these people who think they are they're good theorists, if you will, seem to somehow think that the Nobel Prize is a legit thing all of a sudden. So I just wanted to hit on that. I got the link for that. I forgot where I put it. Anyway, this was a post. This was a paper in PubMed. You can see it down here from the British Medical Journal about how now the World Health Organization is directing additional focus to ivermectin, and the Gates Foundation, as we were talking about, supporting the direction of 19 millions of funds to repurposing ivermectin for the COOF. So that should immediately tell you that what Kelsey was saying about how they push it away, they make it undesirable first, which gets the contrarians into the trap. Here is that link. I'll just put this in the chat for those who want it. Trying to hit my things fast because I know you guys have been here a long time. Oh, that's just another tweet of mine. This was about that was the Rockefeller and Gates parasite thing. But so I wanted to go over some things. One of the big things that I say is that what they want for us is they want us sick, infertile, and dead early. That is their goal. So whenever you see these things come out, these like pseudo alternative yet still pharma cartel things, you should immediately start searching for fertility stuff on it. For those of you who are still taking boric acid or borax or boron, the long-term studies in rodents show infertility problems. So you got all these guys doing, I don't know if you know this, but the big study on boron was 10 days long. They showed an increase in testosterone in, I think it was Iranian or Iraqi guys, 10 days. And then all of a sudden you got everybody on the internet saying, take boron for testosterone. And then you don't look at the long-term studies on mice and rats. And you see they get infertile. That's how they get you, right? This is the duration paradox we're talking about. So anyway, these infertility stuff, so there's this paper, effective ivermectin on male fertility and its interaction with P-glycoprotein, the PGP inhibitor. Kelsey, we need to go over that. We may need to have a whole separate episode about the PGP.
I think so. Yeah, there's much more to tell about that. Mm-hmm.
Yes, that is one of the most important things that you brought to my attention that really blew my mind. But I'm just going to give the quick overview if you didn't catch Kelsey mention it. PGP basically, from the way Kelsey explained it to me, I haven't gotten into this too deep yet. Well, Kelsey, just give us like the quick rundown of the PGP and how it requires energy to detox kind of thing.
Okay, so in a lot of your epithelial tissue, like the gut lining, the liver lining, liver barrier, the all-important blood-brain barrier, there's these little structures on the cell surface, basically, that help your body detox a lot of toxins, xenobiotics, heavy metals, lots of stuff. There's many different types too. The main one is called MDR1, but we'll get into that later. So essentially, what this does is it sits on the surface, and it's like a little channel. It's like a little whirligig, and your cell has to expend energy, ATP, put that in there to push a drug out. So let's say a drug has been, hit a receptor and it's come into the cell, or it's diffused passively. Your body has to expend energy to use this system to shuttle it back out into the lumen, so you don't absorb it. So you don't absorb it in your gut, so you don't absorb it in the liver, so you don't absorb it in, very importantly, into the brain. That's primarily what the blood-brain barrier is the presence of a lot of these little structures that keep drugs out of the brain. And what a PGP inhibitor, polyglycoprotein, is what it does is it basically shuts down the system. So it binds the apparatus so that this pushing out back into the lumen where it's, this drug is safer to be instead of inside the cell, it stops that process and it can't work. So then it will make it past those epithelial tissues and then get into the bloodstream and past the blood-brain barrier and all over and cause all sorts of heck.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so this study on ivermectin and verapamil, right? Basically, I'm gonna summarize this. It worsened the sperm by a lot. Pre-treatment with verapamil disturbed male fertility by altering sperm parameters, but then they go partial effect of ivermectin on meiosis. Let me make this bigger. Wait, I'm on the wrong screen. Oh, too big. There we go. Basically, this is just going to say this is all just, it's damaging sperm. Okay, so that people say, well, that's one study. Okay, cool. So that's true. And here we go, effects of ivermectin and its combination with alpha lipoic acid, which you guys, if you're here very often, you'll notice me talk about alpha lipoic acid as a sulfur source and a very potent antioxidant, which would be things that we are not trying to pursue here. Final sentence, we concluded that ivermectin has undesirable effects on male fertility and altered expression of IGF-BP3 and HSPA1 in the genes in the testes, while the administration of alpha lipoic acid can ameliorate the adverse effects of ivermectin. Okay, so this is... So alpha lipoic acid is very full of sulfur. Sulfur slows ALDH. We're going to get into the slowing of ALDH here in a second. But so they're giving ivermectin, which I actually believe slows ALDH by itself. I don't have research data on that. But then we get into giving another sulfur antioxidant, which then slows ALDH more. You're going to see the whole ALDH pattern. I'm just going to try to go through it quick here. But so we have 2 animal studies showing problems with, wait, was this humans? No, this male. So we have 2 animal studies showing fertility problems. Okay, so let's go into, this was the one that the media started to downplay, which was funny. This was in Nigeria, effective ivermectin therapy on the sperm functions of Nigerian onchocerciasis patients. So this is treating a parasite. This one little line here. We observed significant reduction in the sperm counts and sperm motility of the patients tested. Okay, so what kind of people are going to be more on the so-called on the right or the conservative side who are resisting all of this stuff? Do you think it's more of, let's just say that we could say that the right seems to have a bit more testosterone than the left, right? We could probably say that. So which guys would they love to damage the testosterone and the fertility of? I didn't get into the other paper, but there was one of these papers showed big testosterone drops in the male rats. I forget which one it was. I think it was the alpha lipoic acid one. Yeah, oh, here it is. Sorry, I missed this part. Furthermore, injection of ivermectin showed significant decrease in serum testosterone level, sperm count, motility percent, live sperm percent, and index weight of the reproductive organs. So basically the testes shrunk. And a significant increase in sperm abnormalities. Okay? That's bad. That's really bad. That's like when I show you that in the Spanish study where they had the younger men ate more organ meats, which really means liver, they had problems with their sperm. This is all going to connect. I'm going to connect it all as I typically do. So we got that one. Then we have, so what we're going to get into now is the connection between ivermectin, COVID, CUFID, whatever, bile, and all of that stuff. We're going to connect this to toxic bile theory now. So if you haven't seen this paper by Anthony Mawson, Oh, I haven't been doing my links, have I? Terrible. Bad me. This is a paper by Anthony Mawson. This is one of the things that really got me into toxic bile theory, where he shows that basically vitamin A coming out of the liver in the bile converts into retinoic acid. The retinoic acid, you could show every single symptom of the COOF with symptoms of retinoic acid. Known symptoms of retinoic acid, the retinoic acid syndrome, also called differentiation syndrome. You could basically show that vitamin A being dumped by the liver, converted into retinoic acid, causes all these exact same symptoms, okay? So, understanding that, what does ivermectin do to bile? There's not a lot on it out there, but the antiparasitic drug ivermectin is a novel FXR ligand that regulates metabolism. I'm going to tell you what FXR does when things bind to it. This is a negative feedback loop, generally, when we're talking about out in the blood. When there is bile in the blood, which we don't want, right? This triggers the FXR. It binds to the FXR, and it tells your liver to make make less bile, pump out less bile. Because your body's saying, alert, 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 we have bile in the wrong place. Please make less bile because we're leaking everywhere, right? It'd be just like if your faucet's leaking, the handle of your sink is leaking. If you don't want that to leak, you turn off the faucet, right? You turn on the faucet, you start leaking everywhere. So then you say, well, if I don't want this leak, I have to turn off the faucet. That's what your body's doing. So what happens, this is the theory, if you block this bile production and bile dumping long enough, you're either going to store it in the liver until you can't store it anymore, and then it bursts out the back. It blows out the pipes, right? Just like you stop the flow of pressure. If the pressure builds up high enough, it just blows out the pipes in the back. This is what your bile system does. This is the theory on this is intrahepatic cholestasis, where it's actually blowing out inside the liver. So we know now that ivermectin messes with bile. For those of you who understand toxic bile theory, and we talk about in the episode 71, if you need the basis on toxic bile theory, go back and watch that. Okay, so if the flu, colds, COOF, if it is all a massive, prolonged dumping of toxic bile that is leaking into the system too much, and that's what causes your symptoms, then in theory, if you were to take a medication that slowed down or stopped the production of bile very quickly, you could relieve those symptoms of a short-term problem. But what does this tend to cause? All these things that people in the health field, especially conventional, the mainstream conventional, mainstream alternative, they're doing all these things that they see improvements in symptoms from because it stops or slows down the production of bile. And so they see a short-term benefit, but long-term, you're going to blow out that cholestasis, that toxic bile leakage system into the blood, and you're going to have more chronic disease. Remember that conventional medicine and a lot of the stuff in alternative medicine is actually just shutting down your detox or changing your bile short term so you see a symptom improvement, which then causes other problems down the road. So, we're going to connect it to vitamin A now. So here's the paper, specific interaction of ivermectin with retinol binding protein from filarial parasites. Pay attention here. Ivermectin, a potent and widely used antiparasitic drug, competes efficiently with retinol for retinol binding sites on parasitic retinol binding protein, but not for the host tissue retinol binding protein sites. Let me just help you with what free retinol in your body is super damaging, super toxic. What does your body want to do? We've talked about this before. It wants to bind it to retinol binding protein. That protects you from the vitamin A. Don't believe the people who say that this retinol binding protein is just the nice little escort and it takes the vitamin A to where the body needs it. No, you make binding proteins to protect you generally from things. Okay? Antibodies are binding proteins. So what it's doing, ivermectin is going in, kicking vitamin A out of the retinol binding protein and now making free retinol in your system, which I can show you plenty of research showing that free retinol is bad. This is why a lack of retinol binding protein will make vitamin A toxicity worse. What do we do in our program to help improve the production of your liver's retinol binding protein? Well, there's things like zinc and making sure you're eating enough protein to make proteins. So we have that now. Now we have the connection to ivermectin and retinol. Now let's get into the psychosis part of this that Kelsey was going into the groups that we had that little trouble showing this stuff. So first, psychosis, schizophrenia. Okay, we all know that modern medicine and psychiatry is terrible at basically everything. But so if you guys want to, pick apart and be like, well, schizophrenia is not psychosis, and you go ahead, waste your time doing that. I'm not going to waste my time doing that. But here's the paper. I've been over this a bunch of times. 3 separate lines of evidence suggest retinoids as causal to schizophrenia. We just talked about ivermectin freeing up free retinol, knocking retinol off of parasitic retinol binding protein and putting it out into the system. Okay, how else would you get vitamin A toxicity in the blood? You could free it up from retinol binding protein. So they're showing here that vitamin A as causal to schizophrenia. Okay, so let's keep going. Anthony Mawson did a paper here on another antiparasitic, mefloquine, very similar to chloroquine or hydroxychloroquine, if you want to pronounce it that way. You can pronounce it hydroxychloroquine, mefloquine or mefloquine, however you want to say it. These are all in the same family. And what Mawson goes over in this paper is how psychosis and excessive violence can be connected to the mefloquine causing liver injury, which is toxic bile leakage, and ALDH inhibition of these hydroxychloroquine, these quine drugs. Okay? He goes over, feel free to look through this paper for that. So now we're connecting ALDH, antiparasitics, ivermectin, and vitamin A. So, what does ivermectin have a history of causing psychosis in people? I think actually Kelsey gave me this paper. You want to know how bad this can be. So we have ivermectin-induced acute psychosis in patients infected with COVID-19 pneumonia. Okay. And I'm just going to go over this last one. In this case report, we will discuss ivermectin causing acute psychosis in healthy 45 and 51-year-old patients with no known history of any mental health illness. Okay, so we got one paper on it. Let's keep going. Intravenous veterinary ivermectin in a COVID-19 patient causing neurotoxicity. Okay. This is an unprecedented, right? They're already saying unprecedented, but when we get into the papers, this is not unprecedented. Unprecedented case of a patient with severe neurotoxicity after IV administration of veterinary ivermectin for confirmed COVID-19 infection. Patient required hospitalization in the ICU. Okay, this is serious stuff. Would they love it if everybody was losing their mental faculties? Everybody's kind of losing. I mean, you kind of notice out in the world today, everybody's kind of losing their mind, right? So we got this. Now, one of the things that Mr. Gates loves to give in African countries is he loves to give azole antiparasitic meds with vitamin A. I don't know if I've been over this before. I haven't been over this in this presentation, but azole meds are known for slowing down ALDH. Wow, there we have the ALDH again. I suspect that ivermectin does the same thing. And now we have this paper, drug-induced psychosis associated with albendazole. So when all of you are like, what about mebendazole and fabendazole and albendazole? They're all in the same drug category. They're all generally doing similar things in their mechanisms. And apparently, when we start looking at all these things that inhibit ALDH and mess with bile, we start seeing psychosis quite a bit. We have another one here, increased risk of psychosis to ivermectin treatment. Do we really think these things are unprecedented anymore? I personally don't. In this poster, we discussed the case of a 14-year-old psychosis to ivermectin. Yeah, 2-week treatment. 2-week treatment of ivermectin, 6 milligrams. Presenting first psychotic episode. Okay. So as Kelsey was going over in her presentation, talking about it, it's especially, we have this like Munchausen by proxy syndrome going around with a lot of these parents who are, they're getting this delusional parasitosis. They're seeing delusional parasitosis in their children. They're giving it to them. It's so if this is actually driving people potentially crazy, are they gonna, you don't, crazy people don't know they're crazy. It's like the Dunning-Kruger effect. People are too dumb to realize that they're not smart enough to understand something, right? So if you're too crazy to understand you're crazy, you're going to do more of the crazy because now they're seeing parasites that aren't there. Okay. Oh, and here's a fun one. As Kelsey was telling me, some doctors and some people are now taking alcohol with their ivermectin. Do alcoholic beverages enhance bioavailability of ivermectin? Let's just go look and see what people say. This is a letter to the editor. This is alcohol restriction during drug distribution programs is normally resisted by the community because everybody's a freaking alcoholic these days. Got to have that devil's water. Got to have it. Some members of the community reported anecdotes of potent effects of the drug after ingestion of the local alcoholic beverage palm wine. Indeed, the more dramatic listen to this. Indeed, the more dramatic the side effects of ivermectin were, the more these subjects extolled its power. Kelsey, does this sound familiar? Right?
Yeah. I've heard more than a few anecdotes about this, and from the research, it's clear that it will, it'll make your booze go a lot farther. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's making the booze go further. But what I was getting at was the Herxheimer effects, right? So if people are just saying the side effects it's Herxheimer, and then the more dramatic their Herxheimer effects, the more they think it's working, right? So there was something else at the end of this I wanted to go over. The most similar experiment was one where ivermectin in alcoholic solution was shown to have approximately twice the systemic availability as tablets, capsules, and oral solution. So it does make it go further. That's apparently been shown. But now what are they going to talk about using it for? Oh, this is interesting. A pilot study of the safety and initial efficacy of ivermectin for the treatment of alcohol use disorder. Okay, wait. Where did they get this idea? That seems weird. If alcohol makes ivermectin more potent, now they start to study it for alcohol use disorder. Let me tell you about the biggest drug out there for preventing or for helping people supposedly to quit alcohol abuse. It's called disulfiram. Two sulfurs on it. It specifically acts by inhibiting ALDH. That's what it does. It helps you, it blocks ALDH, which means it blocks all your aldehyde metabolism. You build up acetaldehyde for sure in your system, along with all the other aldehydes. So what it does is it gives you alcohol allergy or the Asian flush or the Asian glow. So it shuts down your ALDH. You then can't process aldehydes. The aldehydes build up in your system, which is basically like a hangover immediately. You feel terrible. And so the idea is you feel so terrible from drinking, like it's the worst hangover you could have, that you don't want to drink. I mean, it's the silliest thing to get an alcoholic to quit drinking alcohol by having them take a pill. They have to force themselves to take a pill so that they don't enjoy their addiction. Strange.
Yeah,
anyway.
can I add to that too? My personal experience. I I didn't talk about this today, but I did try this drug when I thought I had Lyme disease.
Oh,
and,
yes.
My Lyme doctor was, making me worse, functioning me up. This is one thing that was tried, and it was so strict you couldn't even you couldn't even be around alcohol at all. Like, it would make you so sick. So you had to check your deodorant. You had to check all your supplements, because even if you had a little bit, like, it totally knocks it down. Like you said, it's and then one time, like, I think I took a little bit of an herbal or something that had alcohol in it. I didn't pay attention, and let me tell you, it does make you extremely sick, like the worst hangover of your life kind of thing. Nauseous, ill, dizzy, seeing things, and that's all the aldehydes, I guess, just accumulating. And then also, it made me stinky. I'm not it made me very, very smelly, and that was all the aldehydes coming out, and it was really gross. So yeah, that wasn't healing, that wasn't healthy, and I learned my lesson, but I just wanted to share that.
And we all try our best with the information we have. So since we talked about all these, we talked about the parasitic meds inhibiting ALDH. I showed this last week on the live stream. Retinoic acid, as you get too much vitamin A, active vitamin A in your system, that inhibits ALDH. I went over that paper. The new vitamin D3 that they love, their favorite rat poison to give people, that inhibits ALDH. We're seeing ivermectin has every indication that it inhibits ALDH. So now, Joe, if you could show my screen. So disulfiram, which is designed to be an ALDH inhibitor. This is what it is. Let's go through psychosis on this one. Okay. Disulfiram psychosis, disulfiram-induced psychosis, disulfiram-induced psychosis, disulfiram-induced psychosis, psychosis in disulfiram, psychosis during disulfiram therapy, vulnerability to disulfiram psychosis, psychosis and enuresis during disulfiram therapy. That's the first 10 hits. Aldehydes basically will make you go bonkers. And what they are trying to do is give you a bunch of, I don't know if you know this. Well, let's just open this can. Quercetin, another favorite of the anti-Cufid alternative crowd, is also an ALDH inhibitor. A lot of these things that they are recommending on the alternative side are either ALDH inhibitors, or, as Kelsey pointed out to me, like when I remembered nattokinase in these protocols, I asked Kelsey specifically, I'm like, is that a PGP inhibitor? And she was like, yep, it's on the list. And I went, okay, this is, everything fits now. So
made from a sewage bacteria, no less. The Bacillus subtilis.
So the big thing here that I didn't want to go, I had tons of papers on that disulfiram psychosis. That was easy to find. But what they are doing, as Kelsey went over in the very beginning, they just broke everybody into two camps. The people who were going to listen and the people who were not going to listen. I tend to, Kelsey and I, I'm sure, fall into the people who generally are not going to listen. But then we start looking at how popular the things are, and we immediately go, they're letting this get popular. That's a red flag. So anyway, I want to wrap that up pretty quick here. Kelsey, did you have anything else you wanted to add before we go?
No, I think we pretty much put that in the can, and there's more to talk about, definitely. Oh. So yeah, thank you so much again for having me on.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming. And we will potentially, for those of you who have questions, we're going to have more time for questions on the upcoming live stream. I'll answer them as best I can, since it'll just be me. But yeah, and Kelsey and I plan on doing another one of these. We'll go over the PGP stuff. We'll maybe go over some of these other anti-parasitic medications. Again, we'll connect it all to Bill Gates' favorite vitamin, vitamin A, and how it's all parts of the plan. When you start to see it all before you, it all starts to make wonderful, terrible sense as to what the path they are leading everybody down. People just get to take the left path or the right path. but they're both leading to the same bad place. So anyway, thank you all for coming. I'll see you on Monday for my normal live stream. Hope you all enjoyed it. Thanks again to Kelsey, and y'all have a great weekend. Bye now.